Shafiqa Rais and you're watching Legal Focus on Channel 9 News. In tonight's headlines, we report on a high-profile disciplinary case involving legal professionals and a breach of fiduciary trust. In the federal court case of Dato M. KVS and another partner of Blanche KVS and Co., serious findings of professional misconduct were held against the legal practitioners involved. The case arose from a land transaction in Shura, Selangor involving Avocado Corporation Sdn Berhad as the vendor and Jordan Corporation Sdn Berhad as the purchaser. The land was charged to Hong Kong Bank Malaysia Berhad. The appellant, acting as the vendor solicitors, were entrusted with stakeholder funds amounting to over 600,000 ringgit. Under Clause 2 of the Sale and Purchase Agreement dated 3rd May 1996, the solicitors were to hold and apply the stakeholder funds strictly for redeeming the property from the bank and to release any remaining amount only after registration of transfer. However, a dispute over the redemption amount led to delays. Eventually, the purchaser agreed to top up funds to reach the agreed Rm 2.1 million redemption sum. But instead of holding the money as required, Blanche KVS and Co. released Rm 143,200 ringgit and 54 cents to the vendor, reportedly on client instructions, and later admitted to disbursing a total of Rm 195,199 ringgit and 94 cents to the vendor's managing director. These funds were not used for redemption purpose but for the vendor's living expenses without the purchaser's consent or knowledge. A civil suit followed, resulting in a Sessions Court consent judgment ordering the appellants to repay the full amount with interest. Though the purchaser later withdrew their complaint, the Bar Council proceeded with the disciplinary action under the Legal Profession Act 1976. The disciplinary committee found the appellants guilty of misconduct, citing a breach of fiduciary duty and failure to comply with the terms of the agreement.
In a significant ruling, the Federal Court had dismissed the appeal brought by Dato M. KVS and his legal partner. The court upheld earlier finding that both solicitors were guilty of professional misconduct in their handling of client fund. The court emphasized that lawyer, acting as a stakeholder, must treat such fund with the same care and responsibility as trustees. This duty goes beyond just a contractual agreement. It is a matter of professional integrity and public trust. Although the court found no dishonesty in their action, it stressed that breaching such obligation is serious and unacceptable. Because of the financial loss the lawyer had already suffered and the absence of fraudulent intent, the court imposed a fine of 5,000 ringgit on each of them. This case served a strong reminder of the high ethical standard expected from members of the legal profession, especially when it comes to handling the client's money.
That's all for the facts of this case. Stay with us for more updates.
In addressing the issue of professional misconduct within the lawyer-client relationship, the following cases had illustrated the court's firm stance in upholding the integrity within the legal profession as in Dato M. KVS and another. Malaysian cases have been cited in this case, where in the case of Tu Tiam Hock and Kemajuan Perwira Management Corp Sdn Berhad, the solicitor had acted as a stakeholder in a property transaction. The court held that a stakeholder holds the funds in trust for both parties, not as a mere agent. This means that the solicitor must not deal with or release the money until the condition agreed upon in the contract are fulfilled. The second case that has been cited in this case is Datuk Sri Al-Bachi and another against Malayan United Finance Berhad and another, where the court reinforced the solicitor who holds money for a specific purpose is subject to strict fiduciary obligation, even when facing competing pressure from client or other parties. It had been ruled that a solicitor cannot release funds or act in a way that undermines the trust placed in them as a stakeholder. The other Malaysian cases that have been applied here is that the case of OCBC Bank Malaysia Berhad, next in the case of Selvaratnam Belu Pillai, other than that in the case of Al Kong Weng, and another case of Malaysian case is Rina Park. Common law cases also have been applied here to uphold the principle where in the case of Bolton and Law Society UK, it involved a solicitor who disbursed client funds improperly even though he later repaid the amount. The court ruled that the act was a serious breach of fiduciary duty and that the reputation of the legal profession depends on the integrity, probity and trustworthiness. The other case that can be applied here is Banabai Other than that, in the case of Briggs, next is United Mining and Finance Corp Limited, and the last case is Ri Han Yap Kwan, Singapore. Thus, the cases highlighted the court's firm stance in upholding integrity within the legal profession.
The foundation of the legal profession is the lawyer-client relationship built on integrity, privacy, and trust. In Dato' M. Keves and M. Another Against Bar Counsel, several legal principles and ethical guidelines concerning a solicitor's duty as a stakeholder were addressed. First, Section 9430 of the Legal Profession Act 1976 defines misconduct of any act, professional or otherwise, that amounts to grave impropriety or brings the profession into dispute. The appellant were found guilty under this section and fined 5,000 ringgit paid in the disciplinary fund under Section 103H. The case also discussed Section 103D, which empowers the disciplinary board to accept or reject findings of the disciplinary committee. In this case, the board upheld the committee's decision, confirming that disciplinary action was warranted. Additionally, the case considered the Comprehensive Practice Rules 1997, which requires solicitors acting as stakeholders to follow the agreed terms strictly. The appellants argued they couldn't be punished under a rule not enforced in 1996, but both the Disciplinary Committee and High Court held that common law already imposed this duty. The court further held that breach of stakeholder duty is not only contractual but also fiduciary, involving trust and loyalty. The case highlighted that failing to uphold stakeholder duties not only breaches legal and ethical obligations, but also risks eroding public trust in the legal profession.
I will continue with the impact of this present case with the ethical conduct expected of lawyer in Malaysia. In the case of Dato' M. Keves and Another Against Bar Counsel, it emphasised that lawyers have a fiduciary duty to handle client fine and professional undertaking with the highest level of honesty and care. In this case, the partner of the firm were holding a large sum of money as a stakeholder for a conveyancing transaction. Instead of keeping the money intact until both parties agree on its release, the partner had paid part of it to the seller without any proper consent from the parties. The court ruled that this action as a breach of trust, confirming that lawyers acting as stakeholders are trustees who manage client fine with honesty and care. This decision highlights that lawyers who misuse a client money even without any dishonest intent can still face a professional misconduct charges due to the fiduciary nature of their role. Moreover, in this case, the court has emphasised that breaching a professional undertaking, which is a formal promise made by a lawyer to a client, amounted to serious misconduct on its own. Although the lawyer eventually returned most of the money back, the act of breaking their undertaking justified disciplinary action regardless of any fraudulent intent. This case underlined the importance of undertaking in a legal practice, particularly in property matters where client and party rely heavily on the lawyer's word. By holding the lawyer accountable, the ruling raised the ethical standard expected of Malaysian lawyers, stressing that even a minor breach of trust can damage public confidence and the integrity of the legal profession.
One of the pivotal outcomes of this case was the court's affirmation that the Bar Council can initiate and proceed with disciplinary proceedings even after the complainant has withdrawn their complaint or the civil dispute has been resolved. This is critical because it separates the Bar Council's regulatory function from private settlements, emphasizing that the legal profession is held to account not just by private parties, but by a regulatory body in the interest of maintaining public trust and upholding professional standards. The courts at all levels, including the Federal Court, consistently upheld the disciplinary committee's findings, confirming that misconduct does not require an element of fraud or personal gain. The mere fact that the solicitors departed from the strict terms of their stakeholder role was sufficient to amount to professional misconduct. This interpretation serves to elevate the standard of conduct for lawyers and reinforces that the legal profession must be governed by a code of strict compliance and integrity.